So we throw on the beautiful, wonderful mystery.
Okay, so I'm getting started. If I had left the microphone turned on, there's a reason why it's muted. I'm listening to music, not loudly, but I don't want anything to get muted or, stuff to get flagged. So we're gonna turn off the music for now. As I said, it is Rocky Horror season, so that is what I have been. Well, no, that's not what I've been listening to. Let me get this camera on me. Okay, I have been listening to that and Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack cast recording, as well as I don't know if any of you are familiar with Repo the Genetic Opera, but that has been all week long. So that's just kind of where that is. Let me get some lights on in here, so give me just a moment. Okay. So I am pretty much ready. Hopefully ready to get us going. Dark Gamer Guy, thank you. I am actually really good. It's and it hasn't been a tough week necessarily. It's been an interesting week. Kind of exhausting at times, but no, it's actually been really good. And today was really good too. So I actually got a lot of work done at work. And then I came home deciding, I need to get some homework done before I go live tonight. I am going live tonight, right? Well, yeah, I'm trying to. But I did not get homework done. But no, it's been a really good week. I did actually get some really, really fun news that I will not share right now until everything is all finalized and I actually know what's going to happen. So you'll just have to wait and sit tight, and once I can actually share that news, and I will. But there is some good news for me, professionally, kind of in the works right now. So I'm super excited about that. I'm going to have to I know I had said that I was able to start accepting commissions right now. The truth is I cannot. There is no way in the world that I have the time or the energy really to work on anything other than what I'm working on. So it's going to be just school, work, and comic for the foreseeable future, or at least for the rest of the month. I think I really, I'm not muted, am want to take a break at the end of October. Let's make sure our captions are on. But I don't really know. I don't really know what I want to do with myself this year. Like, I know for a fact I need to take a very extended break, like have an actual vacation of some kind where I, don't have anything going on, and it's probably going to have to be after classes are done. I don't know, we'll see. Where I'm not, trying to get up early to get somewhere or trying to stay late to get things done. It's been a season. It's definitely been a season. I know this year has been pretty tough for just about everybody, so it is what it is. All right, so what I want to do first is let's get this thing on the camera the way it should be. Huzzah. Okay. We're going to open up the water. There is one little detail that I was thinking about putting into the book, into this revamped version of the book before I actually start with the color. And that is... Now, here's the thing. The original version of this story did not have this detail in it. But that's why we do remakes. So we can add in fun details that were not present originally. This guy. Right here. This little elemental creature of the forest I want in other places of the book. So I will literally be drawing a stick figure in a few places. So let's go ahead and get our pencils just so we can know exactly where we're putting this little person here. We'll have coming out. We'll do something like that. Actually, maybe not that. We'll do something a little more obvious. Like something that puts him a little more out into the open. Hey, Writhing Virtue. How are you tonight? Neat idea. Yeah, I think so. I think I want them down here too. And it also gives us an idea of its scale. So, the little guy's down there. And I think I want it... I want it down here in this area. Doing well, how are you? Great point without being too on the nose to say, hey, this elemental is this big. Yeah, we don't want to do that. It's a tiny little thing. I feel like I want it down here. got that one. See, the funny thing is, I'm like, do I want it here? Or do I want it, like, maybe... No, I don't want it over here, because right here is basically where the fold of the page is, so I think it's fine right there. I think it's fine right there. I think it has to be in this page here. Huh. We definitely want him over here. So way off over there. Lurking while I'm working. Oh, thank you. Hey, Leah. How's it going? So glad to see you here. Yeah, I don't know if I can fit it on this page, and it's mostly because I don't think it'll make sense for everything that's happening here, so... Or you think of having it be like a hidden Easter egg on some pages? I mean, he kind of is. Like, I keep saying he, it's not a he, but, you know, it'll appear here, and I want it to not just kind of be like this huge surprise of like, oh, what's this thing? I like the idea of it having a presence throughout the whole book, and then, you know, it just becomes a little more like, oh, right, this thing that's been following them this whole time. A little elemental. So... where do we want... I think I want it here. Do this here. Kind of something like that. I don't know, I feel like maybe it can have a little more energy to it. I don't know. But I got them right there. And it's also doing the sneaking thing. Put it here. It's really interesting to see the creation of a visual medium as the thought process for certain elements are different yet similar in their own challenging ways. So, I mean, I get this idea of everything that I want to do, and then as I'm developing it, it's like, other things come up. I'm like, oh, yeah, that would be so cool if I did this. And sometimes I'm just like, just do it. Just go for it. Just, do the thing. And, I have to talk myself through certain ideas that I want to do. Like, I can usually tell that, my creative blockages are usually just from me judging my own ideas before I can even implement them. Like, no, this idea came to me, and, you know, for whatever reason, I'm saying that it's not good enough, and I found that if I just do it, it's like, not only does it work, but everything else tends to flow directly from it. So I try to keep my internal dialogue to do it. Just do the thing. Get it down on paper. Even if I don't necessarily go for it for this particular project or whatever I'm working on, as long as I get it out, I'm in a good place. You know, I don't usually have to worry about any type of blockage creatively. So we want to do this. I think my original idea for this little elemental was for it to have been created by one of the sorcerers here in this scene. Or in one of these pages, but in the original it did just kind of spring up out of nowhere, so I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to make it its presence kind of consistent. For that scene, maybe I want to do actually we can actually let it be absent here, these pages, and then so we have these bushes over here. I kind of like it showing off its little menacing twig claws, but I want it to maybe be back here. So it's a little guy back there. Maybe, I don't know. Oh, actually, yes. So putting you there. About bring you over here. Have it going. Oh, excuse me. Have it going into the bushes over there. And it's kind of in the background over there. We should really make it a little smaller. Do something like that. It's about the right size. And then it just kind of comes out with all of its friends and back up. So and then starts doing stuff. I don't know if I want it to be present anywhere else, though. Nah, I think it's good where it is. Okay, so let's go back over what we've got. Actually, maybe I don't want that there. And maybe I want this back where it was. And this is what ends up happening. I'll have like these really great ideas, and you know, if I just, you know, follow through on them, then without, you know, passing immediate judgment on their value, I can totally just erase it if I don't like it. Alright, so this week I was supposed to have started the colors earlier this week, and I think I had to finish the actual inks this week on the last 4 pages, so that's why we're doing this now. I've got a very thin brush here I'll use to draw that little dude. Interesting about dealing with your own mental kneecapping. I don't remember where or when I learned it from, but I always liked the idea of a Nancy the Spider from the Icon people. That all the stories we get are a tangible thing, and a Nancy the Spider passing them along for us to tell is a wonderful idea to me. Like all the stories I get in my head, it's up to me to tell them. Yeah, I can get behind that. Like, I feel that a lot of my own challenges in my storytelling are just, like I said, just basically me saying, no, I don't like the way that story is going. And it's like, okay, well, maybe just let it happen and see how well that goes. So I actually need to make him a little smaller. So we'll do that, and we will just let that dry. Come over here, because we know our little friend is moving this way now. Just paint the picture like you said before. Yes. Just paint. Just draw the lines. It's all good. And get this down here. down there. I don't want to cause the ink to be smeared. We didn't put it there. But we did put it back over here. And we're gonna put him right here. I don't know if every once in a while you get into, like, a song gets in your head and you just have to hum it all the way through, or sing. And like I said, I've been listening to the soundtrack from Repo the Genetic Opera all week, and so some of the songs are deeply lodged in my head right now. And coming out, so... put you down there, and then... I think I maybe will put it over here. Way back there. And so ideally, you know, if you've been following the story along throughout the initial pages, you'll know, you know, when this scene happens, you're like, oh, that's what little old dude is doing. The tunes from Les Miserables stuck in my head every now and again. I haven't seen Les Miserables, but, you know, I am definitely a fan of musicals and operas. And I think that was one of the very popular ones that I haven't seen. It was... for me, it took me a while to actually encounter West Side Story, and I never watched Rent. And what's another really popular one? Phantom of the Opera. So, you know, when the songs get lodged in there because of things that I like, you know, I always find myself, like, going back to them. So, but yeah, I love musicals. So... I'll have to check out Les Miserables at some point. But, you know, I have to know, what do you recommend as a really good version of it? My understanding is that, you know, there are many different versions of it, and some of it is not all great. Like, I think my first musical that I actually watched by myself was Cats. And I love it. It's a very special place in my heart. So, I haven't seen it in a while, so of course I'm not getting some of the songs stuck in my head. But, I think if that were to, when, you know, the next time I'll see it, I'll be like, oh yeah, I totally remember this. It was such a good time. But it is. It is. But that's kind of why I have, like, Repo the Genetic Opera in my head right now. I wouldn't exactly say it's living rent-free, but it is definitely in there. Alright, so we are good. Thankfully, with acrylic ink, it dries very, very fast. So I can usually just do this on a fresh drawing, so... My mother always had it on when I was younger, so I caught the 10th on an old VHS all the time. No, I did not see the new movie version of Cats, and honestly, with everything I've heard about it, I'm not sure I want to. I saw the trailers, and I knew it was going to be a disaster, and I'm like, yes, I am here for the disaster. I want to see how bad it can be. And then some of the clips that I did see, I'm like, what? Why'd they do that? Like, that's not the bad that's supposed to happen. So, I don't know if I'll be watching that one. Or at least if I do, I'll probably need to palette cleanse with the original. Or the Pro Shot version. It is something. Here's the thing. I love Judi Dench. I think she's fantastic. I definitely want to see... Oh my goodness. You know what? Hold on a minute. I need to... There are a couple of members from the cast that I actually do want to see. So, Judi Dench, not interested in Taylor Swift at all. Ever. For any reason whatsoever. James Corden? Yeah. Jennifer Hudson played Grisabella, who is... Oh my god, yes. That, I have to say, was the best casting choice for that character. So I have to see it just for her. Who else was in this movie? Because I think there was maybe one other person I wanted to see. Idris Elba. Ian McKellen as Gus. So, there's some pretty big names that are attached to this film. So, And then, there was something I was watching that said, they had to cut out some of the themes in this film version to make it palatable to modern audiences, and I'm just like, they didn't really have to. Cats was kind of like a cult classic, and they could have just left all that in. But I guess because of the actors involved. Go figure. So... I can't even say... I can't say that it's acceptable to say the excuse of, oh, well, we had to make it a certain way for modern audiences, when modern audiences are the ones who saw Cats originally and were really interested in seeing this updated film version of it. Just say it was the actors who didn't want to do the things that the original cast did, or they didn't want certain themes involved. Particularly Rum Tum Tugger and Mr. Mephistophelies. So, let's get into the coloring, shall we? Now that you mentioned it, does make sense as to why it was rather discordant. It was, and I can only say this as a person who saw clips and pieces of it. There was some other stuff that didn't make sense too, but I'm like, oh, well, that could be kind of interesting. So I'll have to actually watch it at some point, just so I can actually give a more reasoned take on it. But as it stands, with what I've heard and the little that I've seen of it, I'm not impressed. I'm not. Alright, so what I will be doing, and this is pretty much how I do all of my coloring for pieces like this, is we're going to take some of this gouache in indigo. Let me get back to the thing. Be taking some of this, so you can see my Winsor Newton Designer's gouache, And I'll be putting a nice healthy dollop down here on my palette. And then I'll be adding a lot of water because I'm going to take this brush, put all that water on here. So. And that'll lay down the base color that I need for the background. Maybe it'll hint in its own way better than for me. I'm not nearly as well versed with Cat Norris lore themes. So, like, okay, so it started as a book. Like an actual book of, like, cat-related poetry, and which I do want. Just because. And it's about cats. It's just cats. So, like, there's a, oh, you know what I will do for you? I will link to you I don't know if you're familiar with Lindsay Ellis, but she did an amazing exploration of cats. And it was so great. It did my heart so much joy. And she also has this podcast called Musical Splainin', which is fantastic, and you should definitely listen to it. I have been trying to keep up with it as often as I can. So I will link this right now. So, you go check it out when you get the chance. Like, I'm deeply a fan of her work, so... Like I said, when you get the chance, go check that out. Please just watch the whole thing. It's so entertaining, and she is amazing. It's fantastic. And that she'll give you like a nice primer on like where cats came from, like the whole production and everything that went into it. So I'm familiar with some of her videos. I definitely have not seen that one. Tap for later things. You're so welcome, because yes, please watch that. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. I think that's probably a healthy enough dollop of indigo. And the thing about gouache, which is probably going to get me into trouble here, is that it's so dense that I could easily just like overdo it. And I don't want to, but I could see it happening. So we're going to be very careful. Start off with a rather light wash of this, just to get my background down the way I need it to be. Okay, it's not so bad. And literally all I want to do is just kind of get this color on here. So once this is on here, I move on to the next page. Yeah. I'm using indigo because it's a deep enough blue tone color that I can use just naturally. Alright, so that is that one. And it adds that nice tint to it that I need. So we're going to lay this out over here onto there. Grab the next page and just keep going. Like it's like that blue-purple thing going on, and it is exactly what I need for a night scene, which is really what this is. as the title suggests. Like, otherwise I would be mixing this color myself, just accidentally, because I'm like, no, that blue is too light, I need something different, I need something darker here, I'll just add some purple and I can just use indigo. Actually, you know what I'll do? They can kind of be stacked on top of each other. Just like that, right there. I'm not so much worried about how long the coloring process will take me because I know how simple I'm keeping all of the colors themselves. So everything will get this basic wash of this indigo. Like literally the entire page. And then I'll layer on my browns. And then add in my highlights. And then just kind of go in with the details later. So the challenge really is, okay, how long is it going to take for this to dry? How often do you find yourself mixing your own paints to achieve a certain color? Do you strictly stick to using what you have on hand? I often stick to what I have on hand, but if I need if I need that color in a certain shade, then I'll start mixing things. If I'm not getting what I need from what I have, then I'll start mixing things. The great thing about my normal palette picks, the colors that I often purchase whenever I'm buying new paints, is that I can literally mix any color that I need in any shade. So I'll get my white, my black, some kind of gray, like a Payne's gray, I think is usually pretty decent for me. It's a nice, warm, medium tone gray. And then I'll just go through the Roy G. Bivs. And then once I have like a nice collection of that, then I can say, okay, I can play around with this. If I need to make this blue a little darker, I can add, you know, that little black or even like that purple to it. The other thing that I have taken to doing is if I know that I need a specific color, then I'll usually just buy the color that I need. Like if I'm constantly mixing a certain shade or certain value of blue, for instance, or trying to find how I can make that with the colors that I have, I'll usually just go buy a dark blue. So the two blues that I'll purchase are often cerulean blue and Prussian blue. So I'll have that nice mix, and then if I need to do anything different with them, I can usually just find some type of mix combination for them. I've learned, as I've grown as an artist, that that's often kind of the way to do that. Is to, like, certain colors you just have to buy two shades of in order to get, you know, the variety that you need. So I just do that. And I'm usually very, very okay with leaving the brush strokes in. I need more water. Only because it adds a really nice visual texture to what I'm painting. There's a lot of paint on this brush right now. So, be very careful when I drop that onto the next page. Yeah, you can see the streak of the where the brush actually hit the glob of paint that I had in my palette pan here. I miss this, just like painting. This is what I love doing. It's just the whole experience of painting, just being able to like make these really simple, basic scenes just with, you know, a handful of colors and just, you know, add in the details. Oh, you're welcome. Like, just having that sit there just like that. Imagine with those streaks, it allows for new opportunities for it to... Actually, it does. It really does. And that's what, like I said, I love having the brush strokes in. And sometimes when it comes to my pencils, is why I usually like the pencils to show a little bit too. Or at least, you know, at the moment. You know, when I'm in the middle of doing a pencil drawing, you know, I just draw wild lines. It starts to show me things. And I can like, oh, okay, I want to do this because this effect is kind of coming through right now. And it almost always works out. Almost always. I'm getting better at discerning, like, what's a really good lead to follow and what should be, you know, gone about in a different way. Ooh, that's a whole lot there. That's okay. It's a night scene, so it can do that. And the great thing about using gouache is that I can layer on, you know, colors and do so in a way where you can actually see all the layers. So, like, if I need to, I'm going to need to put some yellow down here on a few of these pages. And if I do it right, you'll actually see the yellow pop in contrast. So I can actually, instead of, like, in watercolor, you have to kind of do it in reverse. You have to put your light colors down first. Those light, more transparent colors. And then put your darker, more opaque colors on top of that. With gouache, I can actually just paint it the way I want it to, and then I can use those lighter colors to actually be the actual highlights that I need. I don't have to kind of dance around the image with my brush. I can say it like this right here. When I put this blue on top of it, if I paint my yellow thick enough, because this indigo is pretty watered down. If I paint like that next level of thickness in paint, in density, I'm calling it density, in that yellow, then that yellow will actually stand out a little more. Which is what I'm hoping for with these pages. Making a bit of a mess. What I want to do, real quick, is actually start to separate these. I want them drying literally right on top of each other. Pile clothes, move them out the way. Normally, I would put these up on my wall, but my wall is kind of full of unfinished pieces, and I don't want to start taping up wet paper onto the walls. It's a very different look in this room that I'm not entirely sure I'm going to agree with. Having them on the floor, however, is a very different story. There, just so you can lay flat. Have a few more pages left to get these colors down on. I need to refresh my paint. Yeah, I definitely do. Just a little bit though. Next. It's still too light. It's still too wet. Let's add a little more. Okay. That's really all that needs to be done. Splash marks of indigo paint kind of all over my desk right now. Alright. That should be good. Yes, that's perfect. And the great thing is it can get darker on some pages than it is on others. That's totally fine. So long as it doesn't get as wet as what just happened here. Because then it'll just take forever to dry, and that's when the paper starts buckling weirdly and just not really performing as well as it should anymore. Have you thought of making an audio version to accompany this comic's release? Not this story. But there is in the works a project that kind of details a different story. And I wanted to do an animated thing and kind of an audio thing. So I do have some ideas that I'm planning, that I'm working on. I actually did just kind of like a prelude to everything going on here in this world. I actually did do an audio thing. Just like a quick audio story. So I gotta redo it and just kind of, well, revisit it really, just to make sure it all makes sense and the tone and everything is the way I want it to be. See, I get the ideas. I do have the ideas. Yep, here we go. That's perfect. It was any particular reason why the different media forms for the different stories? I want to explore different media. I mean, that's really all it is. I just want to explore different ways of telling stories. You know, I know the ways that I like, that I prefer, that really work for me. But I really want to look at doing things in different ways. Just to explore, just to see what, you know, I can do with that medium. Simple as that, yeah, it really is. I mean, like, I'm only even... Like, yes, I grew up as a kid who loved comic books, but, you know, I'm only even making comic books right now because that's where my mind is as far as the storytelling that I want to do right now. All of this, my storytelling really started out as just me just making illustrations. Just, you know, a one-off here, a one-off there, just to kind of, as a story seed. You know, and I can draw an image and then create an entire story around that image. And then it turned into, I wonder if I can make a comic book like that. And here we are. So... Here we are. Two more pages. Have enough water for them both. Nope, I don't have enough paint for the one. It's already 8:15, going a bit into lurk mode while I make a bit of late dinner. Enjoy the late dinner. Thank you for stopping in. Enjoy the lurk. Yeah, it is suddenly like 8:15, isn't it? I made so much more paint and I only need it for like one other page. Well, you know, I can actually use this for the cover since I still have yet to actually do that. So I think I will. Enjoyable as always. Aww. Okay, that's fine. Can do that. It can be that dark. Do something fun with this page. Sure. So, ooh no, it's starting to curl. Okay, that's fine. So some of my pages, because they're so wet, are starting to curl as they dry. So what I need to do is let them dry a little more, and then they're just going to have to be pressed flat. But I don't want to do that while some of these pages are still actually very wet. Or at least not very wet, but at least a little moist. Kind of damp. Because what will end up happening is if I press them too soon, then they'll stick to each other. We don't want that. So I'm going to move this one just back over there to that. Take a drink. And we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to run to the restroom, go pee, and then I will come back and we will press these pages. Okay, I am back. I am just getting a nice overhead shot of all of the pages. Let me get back in here. So how are we all tonight? As I said, this week has been fun. Busy. Fun. A little stressful here and there. And filled with some particularly fun news for me personally, but I don't want to get into that at the moment, at least not yet. What is that one? Alright, so as I said, what I need to do is, well, I need to let some of these pages dry a little bit. Actually, they're pretty dry right now, so they just need to be pressed flat. Making sure the microphone's still. So, this is what I'm going to do. We're gonna go page by page. They're dry enough that they won't stick to each other, so that's a good thing. This is 14. I need page 13 now. Page 12. Page 11, which is you. Page 10. Page 9, which I think is this one over here. Page 8. And 7. Ah, there you are. 6. This is page 5. 4. 3. 2 and 1. Okay. The thing is, I cannot move forward until these pages are flat. So, what will likely end up happening, and this is typically why the whole painting process takes, you know, like I knew for a fact I can't do all of this in one night or in one sitting, no matter how much resolve I have. Paper has to dry. Pages have to be pressed, so we can do as much as we can, though. So we'll do that. I'm going to put it under the heaviest, flattest weight, most surest weight, most even weight that I have in the house, and that's going to be the pillow this floor pillow that I have right behind me, which you can't see, but I have a floor pillow behind me, and that's where this is going. So, now the question is, now that I have the cover here, do I want to put some energy into the cover? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So this is the actual cover. I think it was a couple of weeks ago I painted, just as a test of my gouache skills. Just to see, you know, how gouache worked and, you know, what I could do with it. We did that a couple of weeks ago. And this is the actual cover itself. It's going to be constructed just like those pages. Or painted just like those pages, rather. And we even have our little guy right there. This is also, like, me having to flatten the pages out. That's usually why I also, whenever I am doing any type of watercolor painting or even gouache painting, I'll tape the edges down and just kind of build the image around, you know, having that border. Oh, it's kind of like dusting for fingerprints. You can see my fingerprints here. That's fun. I'll deal with it. Okay. So we'll just kind of let this sit here. I mean, yeah, it's been an hour and a half. So what'll end up having to happen is that those pages will have to sit there for quite some time, probably overnight. So I know for a fact I'm not going to be going back to those tonight. So let's kind of sit with that. But when I do go back to it, then I can say, okay, let's add on the next layer of color. If I'm going to be painting like this, it's going to take at least a week to get through everything. But I do it kind of in shifts. So, you know, the first shift obviously is, okay, let's get all of that color down onto the page. I mean, I could probably accelerate the whole process if I had a way, if I could just like toss those pages into the oven. I don't want to do that, no. To help the drying and, you know, but they'd still need something sitting on top of them to flatten them. I don't have those resources on hand, so we will not be doing that. Primarily also because you could not, yeah, you can burn the pages, but like we could end up with like singed edges, which it's kind of a look, but not for comic book pages. Not really. And that extra heat can actually really do some damage to the color that was on here, so we do not want to do that. We just want it to dry as normal. So keep it laying flat just consistently for at least the night, and then we can go back to it. The other thing I could do, yes, I could actually take some water to some of those curled edges and just say, okay, we're going to re-flatten this out just to make sure that it stays flat. Moisten a little bit and then just, okay, it's now laying flat. So I may do that tonight. So that's the first shift, is getting that flat base overall color down. The next shift is actually going to be picking out the brown details, so like the trees themselves, and I'll actually be able to devote a little more time to that work. And honestly, the most time-consuming part is what I'm doing right now, this flattening process. And then I can go back in and say, okay, now that everything's there, I can actually go ahead, paint on the details that I need, and, you know, all the major next block of color, which is all the browns. Once that gets on there, then I can start to, you know, pick out some of my yellow highlights here and there. And then the final, you know, step would be to, okay, let's get in some of these this visual painted textural details. You know, like the shadows and like get in some of the grooves of the tree here just to kind of add that texture to it. And then it's done. And then it's done. What is that? 5 hours technically of work. So it just all can't be done in the same day. It has to be done over the course of a few days just to allow the paper time to rest and lay flat. So,